Most houses are turned over in June to you. Often there may be nobody or maybe one or two people living in there till mid-end of August when the rest of you move in for school to start. Understand that if nobody's living there, the house is going to be dusty, cobwebby, and need cleaning. I don't want to get calls from you or your parents saying the house isn't clean. All right, so I've had that happen a great deal, but when I turn it over and do my video in June, the house looks great. Once you move in, if there are any problems, take about 2 weeks to go through the house. I have my video, but if you want to send me an email of your items that you see, some that I might have missed that need to be fixed, or some you just want to note, then that'll go in the file and be used at the end when I do the security deposit review. As far as renewal and subletting, I will be asking you by mid-September if your group would like to stay again. That doesn't mean I have to rent to you. If you've been a good group, I'd be happy to rent to you. If I've had problems with you already, not so much. As far as subletting, I allow you to do subletting, but I'll let you look at the lease if that's something of interest to you, so we won't go over the details of that at this point. Utilities. You are in charge of all the utilities, but I will help you when it comes time to turn over all the utilities into your name. This is something I used to do for you, but with the Privacy Act, I can't do it anymore. But I'll work with you in getting that all turned over. One little hint is you could have bad or no credit. And a lot of students just don't have credit. And when you give them your name, they want you to give a deposit. And if you just try to give a different person's name, you can usually find someone where a deposit isn't necessary. So that's just a little hint when you set the utilities up. As far as the cable or internet, I don't get involved in that at all. I would recommend you talk to the people that are there now, and then you can decide how you want to handle that. Okay, trash. We've talked about noise. Now I'm going to talk about trash. Those are the two topics you'll hear from me a lot, or hopefully not so much, if you can get it straight. As we talked about the outside of the trash, I think that's clear. But what you need to also understand is trash is picked up once a week. Everything has to be in these green toters. You can't have plastic bags that rats or raccoons or whatever are going to pick at. So they need to be in the trash toters, and you have recycling bins. If you live in Old Town, that's all done on Monday. So that means that those cans have to be put out Sunday night, because it could be as early as 7 a.m. on Monday, and then they have to be back by Sunday evening. I guarantee the code enforcement are driving around Tuesday morning to see who have left out their trash toters, and that is something that they will fine people for. So trash needs to be one of the key charges on the cleaning or chart list for the house. Because if you miss it, you then have too much trash. You're then going to wonder why you have ants or bugs or rats or whatever. You're going to start, if you leave it up to chance, someone's going to not remember to take it out or back. You have to have someone responsible each week to take care of that, or it won't get done properly. There's a confidentiality clause in your lease. As a renter, you actually have the same rights as a homeowner. People can't just come in your house without notice. So unless I've told you that the inspection is going to be occurring and one of us will be there, you should not let anybody, a code enforcement or anyone else, come in your house unless they have a warrant. You can say, my lease says I need 48 hours notice before anybody comes in. Recently happened that someone said, oh yeah, you can come in. Not a good idea. So just remember that you just because it's the police, you do not need to let them in. Reasonable right of entry. I think I've worked this out really well, that I, as well as my key long-term workers, have access to the house to be able to take care of the work you want done without someone being there. But you'll know someone's coming because you called me about a problem. Okay, so people are just not willy-nilly walking through your house. I'm not checking to see if you've taken care of your cleaning chart, although sometimes I think I should. But we do come in as we need to, and usually that works out fine for people. I've not ever had an incident. Renter's insurance. You should talk to your parents. On every parent's policy that I've ever heard of, or you can get it on the open market, it is the cheapest thing going. I'm not really sure why it's so inexpensive, but I've never heard more than $150, and that covers all of your contents. My insurance covers the structure, but not what's in the house. So if you think about your computers and TVs and such, you need to talk to them about renter's insurance. Eviction. I hope this is a word we will never have to have any further discussion on. But there is a clause in here I want you to understand that says, even if you pay every bit of your rent on time, I still have the right to evict you if you breach any clause in the lease or are a problem to me or the city of College Park, aka noise and trash, yet again. So remember that I always have that as a backup. And you should also remember that I'm the person that gets called when you need a reference, either for a new place to live when you've moved out of here, or if you're needing some sort of government clearance. I'm the person they're going to ask me about the person you were living in my house. Okay, the occupancy limit. PG County sets the rules for occupancy, and that you are allowed 5 unrelated people in a single family house. It doesn't have to do with square footage. It doesn't have to do with the number of rooms. It's just clear 5 unrelated people. And College Park has the authority to follow those rules and keep an eye on that. Joint and several liability. I wonder if any of you know what that means. You need to, because you're living with a group of people and you're all responsible, both individually as well as a group. What does that mean? That means that if I need to go after you for rent, I can go after each one of you for the total amount, as well as everybody. And because of that, with those guarantees that the parents sign, I make sure that I have a guarantee from every single parent, because it's not fair to have some parents on the hook and not others. So please make sure your parents know that everyone will be equally responsible or you don't get your lease. City of College Park does put out a pamphlet that you have to read and sign off of on the lease that you have looked at. It does have some good contact information. It goes over a lot of their rules and laws. I personally, as president of the Prince George's Property Owners, has spent the last couple of years working very hard with the city, with the University of Maryland, Dr. Lowe, all the Maryland police, both University of Maryland and PG County, to change the flavor of what's going on in College Park. But it is up to you now to continue working and being a good neighbor. I know you are aware that you're a University of Maryland student, but I wonder if you also are aware that you are also a citizen, a resident of the city of College Park, all the rights and responsibilities along with that. So I hope that you will be a good neighbor, and we can talk more about how you can do that when we get together. One of the last things here is that cleaning chart or wheel that I've referred to many times. I don't care how you do it, but you have to do it. Whether you do it weekly or monthly, how you split things up is something that the group needs to sit down and decide. There's certain things that make sense to be on that chart. Trash is a job for the week. Collecting it all from the house, making sure those toters are in and out, perusing the lawn and making sure all those red cups are picked up on a daily basis, etc. The bathrooms, the kitchen, and I don't mean putting dishes away, which should be done on a daily basis. I mean cleaning out the spills from the refrigerator, mopping the floors, the other items that need to prevent those ants and other bugs from showing up. And you can decide what other jobs. The common areas need to be vacuumed and dusted. Those are the main things that come to mind that need to be set up. Let's see. Anyway, I have had many of your groups sit down and laugh when I say this because they say you're 100% on target. People say, we don't really need to do that because these two people are clean nuts. They'll take care of it. Well, it is true up to a point. Somewhere between mid-year and 3/4 of the year, those two people are like, I'm done. And then all of a sudden the house that looked great totally falls apart. So even if a few people are only living there in the summer, do one chart for the summer. As soon as the school year starts, you need to start a new chart and start it right away. If you don't do it right away, it's not going to get done at all. I also know that for a fact. The next thing you need to do as a group is sit down and decide what those jobs really mean. So for the bathroom, does that mean you flick the light on and go, looks pretty good to me, and walk out? What does it mean? You need to decide exactly what that job entails, write it down in a little book and stick it in that same drawer in the kitchen that you have those batteries. The best house I saw one year had that job written on a little piece of paper above the light switch in each of those rooms. You don't necessarily have to go that far, but everyone should be doing the same thing and have equal responsibility to keep the house in order. That's it for right now. The last thing to tell you is we have to find a date for all of you to come to my house where first thing you'll be doing is taking a test on this information. You need to get 95% because I want you to really understand this. If you don't, we're going to have to sit down and go through it all. Then we'll do the paperwork and you'll be done and ready for a great year. Thank you. Some of you may or may not know that the Code of Student Conduct has just been extended and it follows you wherever you go. So if you're off to Florida on spring break, it's still following you. So what does this mean? The rules that they have set for you for campus now extends off campus. That means in my house, that as well as anywhere else. So if you have a problem, you can get a ticket from the city cops, the PG County cops. You can get some sort of citation or problem from the University of Maryland cops, and you can get reported to the Code of Student Conduct office, where they then will decide what to do with you next. It could be a simple talk, or it can be sanctions to expulsion. It's another person you do not want to be called when you leave school to find out that you've had sanctions at some point in your career. So it's not just about money anymore. It's not just about going to district court where you can often get off. This has to do with your academic career. So please beware and be, again, a good neighbor, and none of these things will happen.